My Daughters by Tyon Winter. Why 3 daughters rise from midnight's womb, their faces shrouded, pale as tombs. They veil their skin with ashen grace, a powder carved from envy's face. The prayers of foes, like poisoned hymns, twist not their fate, but crown their limbs. For every curse that seeks them low, their shadowed thrones rise higher and grow. When beauty's ruin is desired, their gaze turns steel, their flesh inspired. When snares are laid to see them fall, they sprout black wings and haunt them all. When envy begs they be undone, they blaze like 3 infernal suns. That cursed dust, their fated breath, transforms all spite to gilded death. So mark their names, and heed their power, the daughters thrive on envy's flower. And those who wish to see them fade shall find their prayers were what they made. It was time for the green door to open, its weathered wood groaning like some ancient creature roused from slumber. Beyond it, a realm unfolded that seemed torn from the darkest corners of the Otherworld, where the veil thinned, and the breath of the dead mingled with the living. The very air shimmered with the crackling essence of wandering spirits, their whispers rising and falling like a mournful keening carried on some distant, mournful wind. They beckoned us forward with voices soft as moss and sharp as broken iron, luring us into their unseen embrace. My heart hammered against my ribs, as if trying to flee before I did. I cast a quick glance at Altaluna, feeling dread pool in my stomach like cold peat-water. The bones scattered across the earth, bleached, cracked, and ancient as forgotten runes, seemed to rearrange themselves beneath her gaze. Her expression mirrored my own, a mingling of fear, uncertainty, and the knowledge that once we stepped past this threshold, fate itself would coil tightly around us. "You girls stand upon the turning of the ages," Altaluna declared, her voice steady as she placed her foot upon the jagged relics that formed a grim and sacred path. "You are to embrace your destiny as witches, as your mother did, and the mothers before her, stretching back to the first daughters who knelt beneath the moon's newborn light." She paused, the air thickening as if the earth itself listened. "Some of you will return from this trial alive, and others will not. So bind yourselves now to the girl beside you." Her gaze swept over the circle of gathered women, our sisters in blood and bone, and something in her eyes seemed to burn like peat fire. "Speak the old words," she commanded, "and tell them we are the slayers of the bones, and may our breath be buried into Gaia's womb." The women roared as one. The chant rose like a storm wind over the cliffs, fierce and full of the wild determination carved into the bloodline of our foremothers. Power surged through the air, raw, electric, and older than any mortal tongue, as the leader snapped her fingers sharply. The very atmosphere thrummed, vibrating through marrow and spirit alike. As if guided by an unseen tide, the girls surged toward the ancient portal. It yawned before us like the mouth of a forgotten god, dark, inviting, ominous. Their fear fell away, swallowed by purpose and the fire of ritual. But something unseen tugged at me, anchoring my feet to the cold bones beneath. A primal instinct, older than memory, older than language, whispered that these bones were not silent. They murmured their secrets in a tongue that scraped against my spine. Warnings of treachery, echoes of ancient betrayals, and omens carved in the marrow of the dead. For an instant, terror wrapped its icy fingers around my throat. Then, gathering every shred of courage left within me, I tore myself free from fear's hold. With a final breath steeped in valor and dread, I steadied my soul and hurled myself into the churning darkness beyond the green door, into the waiting maw of destiny. As I crossed the threshold, the world shuddered and folded in upon itself, as though I had stepped not into a place but into a memory carved from the marrow of the earth. Shadows draped over me like a grave shroud woven from smoke and ancient sorrow. The air grew thick, peat-heavy, copper-tanged, with the lingering remnants of old magic, the kind whispered about in hearth tales and feared in the silent hours before dawn. Every breath tasted of forgotten spells and the dread of those who walked this path before us. Through the shifting gloom, I squinted until 2 faint shapes emerged, Altaluna and Irdis, their silhouettes wavering like spirits caught between worlds. The dim light around them flickered weakly, as though it were the last breath of a dying star collapsing under its own age. Desperation clawed at my throat, a raw and aching hunger for guidance. I hurried toward them, my boots crunching over brittle relics, bone shards, rune stones, and talismans long since stripped of their warmth. I yearned for their wisdom, for anything that might help us carve a path through this bone-laden realm where even the silence seemed alive. Around us, the other girls scattered like startled birds. Some cast off their fears entirely, rising light-footed into the choking night, their spirits buoyed by purpose and the blessing of the old blood. Others remained frozen, rooted to the ground as though the earth itself clutched their ankles. Their wide, glassy eyes stared into the abyss ahead, reflecting the terror of those who glimpse the unseen and know it stares back. "What are we supposed to do now?" I murmured, though the tremor in my voice made it sound more like a prayer than a question. Altaluna and Irdis exchanged a glance, worried, brittle, and heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. It mirrored the fear thrumming beneath my own ribs. "Stay close until the half-sunrise," Irdis said, her voice low and urgent, shaped by the cadence of old Celtic warning chants. "We must keep to the light's edge and avoid the beast of the dark." The way she said it, beast, made my skin prickle, as if the creature's name alone stirred the shadows around us. Her gaze hooked into mine with sharp intensity, as though my comprehension of our fate might anchor the unraveling threads around us. "But our magic is strongest here," Altaluna insisted, stepping nearer until her presence hummed against my skin like the resonance of a struck harp string. "In this place, our power runs deeper, older. If we stay united, we can braid our energies together and pass the strength to you." Determination burned in her eyes, bright as firelight reflecting off steel. She looked at me with such fierce belief that, for a moment, the darkness dared to tremble. Yes, that could work, ho, my thoughts shattered mid-breath. A howl rose from the depths of the darkness, low, guttural, and threaded with a hunger that felt older than the standing stones themselves. It echoed through the realm like the death cry of a broken god, curdling the air as it passed. The sound slithered down my spine, cold as the touch of a ghost, sharp as the memory of betrayal. Every instinct screamed that the creature was near, its presence coalescing like storm clouds around us. The reality of our peril tightened around my chest, a bands of iron and ice. And yet, beneath the crushing fear, I felt something stir within me. A collective courage, born from my companions, my ancestry, and the ancient blood that pulsed beneath our feet. It flared in my heart like a spark kindled in a long-abandoned hearth, fragile yet defiant. Hope. A fragile light in the maw of encroaching darkness. A gut-wrenching scream tore through the forest, sharp as a blade forged in the underworld, and shattered the eerie stillness that clung to the towering pines. The sound reverberated between their moss-darkened trunks, rattling the marrow in our bones. All of us froze, our hearts pounding in frantic synchrony as the source of that keening terror drew nearer, stirring the shadows like something unwilling to remain unseen. "Run!" Altaluna cried, her voice ringing with the raw command of an ancient war daughter. It cut the tension like a struck crossblade. Irdis and I exchanged only a heartbeat's glance, enough to mirror our shared fear, before we burst into motion, sprinting through the dense woodland where the fog curled like ghostly fingers around our ankles. Every root seemed to reach up to snag our steps, as though the forest itself held its breath, unsure whether to protect or condemn us. I dared a glance over my shoulder, only for an instant, but time warped into something slow and merciless, and what I saw carved itself into my soul. Towering above the tangled underbrush lurked a creature no mortal realm had birthed. 5 feet tall, yet hunched with the twisted posture of something caught between man and nightmare, it loped forward. Its legs were painfully human in shape, but its head bore the visage of a black owl, its great unblinking eyes cold as obsidian moons. Ragged feathers draped its torso like a burial shroud, while its limbs were nearly bare, revealing sinewy skin that stretched taut over unnatural strength. In one taloned hand it clutched the upper half of a woman, devouring her with a horrifying calm, as one might consume bread offered at a hearth. Then its monstrous gaze found mine. A chill, older than winter and deeper than the sea, seeped into my bones. The creature's attention latched onto me as though recognizing some ancient tether, its eyes narrowing with a knowing hunger. In that moment, I felt the dread certainty that we might not outrun this waking nightmare. Far from our frantic flight, back in the spectral silence of the evergreen forest, Voronina perched on a lone rock suspended above a still, dark pool, as if held mid-sea by unseen hands. A small rowboat bobbed beside her, the only bridge between this liminal place and home. Fog curled around her like ancestral spirits, twisting the shapes of trees and stones into haunting silhouettes. Leaning over the water's murky surface, she watched her reflection shimmer, pale, ethereal, and unmoored. But then, impossibly, her face began to shift. Her features rippled, blurring and reforming until her sister's visage stared back at her from the depths. Voronina's breath hitched. Dread coiled around her ribs. The transformation was slow, deliberate, as though the water sought to remind her of something forgotten. Then, without warning, her sister's face vanished. The water convulsed violently, disturbed from below, as if something ancient stirred in its bed. From the surging depths, a pale hand burst forth, glowing faintly like the winter moon. Its skin was slick with blackened oil, glistening like the blood of the earth. Before Voronina could draw breath, the hand seized her dress, pulling her under with a strength that brooked no resistance. Icy darkness swallowed her whole. Her senses dissolved, her last tether to the waking world slipping from her grasp, and then she opened her eyes. She found herself standing in a realm bent by shadow and ruin. Beneath her feet lay black grass, brittle as ash, stretching endlessly into a rotting horizon. Gnarled trees loomed like skeletal sentinels, their branches curling like the hands of the dead. The air hung heavy, rank with decay, grief, and the lingering breath of ancient curses. Ahead, two shadowed shapes rose like dark monoliths. But before she could approach, a strange sound rippled through the trees, an eerie chorus of whispers, soft as peat wind yet quivering with otherworld hunger. They bled through the forest as though spoken by unseen mouths pressed against the veil. Heart pounding, Voronina moved forward. An uncanny tug in her memory guided her, drawing her toward something half-remembered and wholly feared. As the whispers momentarily fell silent, she knelt in the blackened soil and gasped. Half buried in the earth lay a rusty dagger, its blade dulled by time, pitted with old corrosion. It looked barely sharp enough to pierce flesh, yet it pulsed with a grim significance. Entwined around its handle was a delicate chain, her mother's necklace, its charm glinting weakly in the dim, haunted light. Recognition struck her like a blow. This was her sister's dagger and mama necklace. Together, abandoned in a place where no living hand should have placed them. A sickening wave of anguish rolled through her as she lifted both relics. They felt heavy, burdened with memory, fate, and unspoken truths. Why were they here? What had happened? As she rose, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then the whispers surged back, louder, clearer, rising like a tide of voices pressing in from all sides. They coiled around her mind, threading into her thoughts, and amid the cacophony, one voice emerged from the shadows. Deep, echoing, certain. Yoga Bell, it intoned. The name clung to the air like a curse, chilling Voronina to her core. For she understood, in that moment, that whatever spoke it had been waiting for her. She burst from the cold, dark waters with a great gasp, as though the lake itself were reluctant to release her spirit. Her eyes snapped wide, stinging from the sudden bite of the air, and the world returned to her in a whirl of grey fog and trembling breath. She clawed her way into the rowboat, limbs trembling, her dress clinging to her like the webbing of some drowned ghost. A heavy foreboding settled upon her chest, thick as winter frost, for she knew the darkness waiting on shore was not one born of mortal night but of ancient shadows and bitter spirits. Her gaze fell upon her blade lying on the damp planks, its weathered metal glinting faintly. She seized it, feeling its cold weight steady her, an iron reminder of the oath she had bound herself to. Wordlessly she gathered her breath, the truth lodging deep in her heart like a stone. She knew who she must kill. The knowledge hollowed her, yet steeled her. Still, the air around her whispered warnings from the otherworld. This confrontation would not unfold as she hoped. Fate rarely bent to mortal hands. When her feet touched the mainland, a chill spiraled up her spine, sharp as a druid's needle. She strode toward Mama's home, her heartbeat hammering like a war drum beneath her ribs. The moment she reached the door, she kicked it open with a force that splintered the wood and sent echoes crawling through the cottage walls. Inside, the quiet was suffocating, too still, too watchful. She stepped forward, letting her blade fall with a heavy, fated thud onto the floorboards. The sound rang with grim finality. In that instant she knew, with crushing certainty, that her magic alone was no match for Yoga Bell. Yet still she pressed on, for honor demanded it, and she hoped, prayed, the other women would feel the call rising in their bones. She raised her right hand, curling her pinky, ring finger, and index into a tight fist, the old gesture of summoning. Her voice unfurled the incantation, ancient as moonlit stone. Yo so fala. Yo so fala. Yo so fala. The words thrummed through the room, bending the very air around them, pulling at the seams of reality until the cottage groaned under their weight. As she stepped forward, the horror began. Mama doubled over, clutching her abdomen with a strangled scream that split the silence. Her cries were raw, feral, echoing through the room like a creature caught in a hunter's trap. The women stumbled backward in shock. Instincts flared alive. Blades flashed in hesitant hands as they eyed Voronina, fear and bewilderment swirling together. But then the unthinkable unfurled before them. Mama's skin began to sizzle, tiny tongues of ethereal flame racing beneath her flesh. Smoke rose from her, thick and acrid. Gasps tore from the onlookers as the truth revealed itself in horror piece by horror piece. Mama was no mortal woman. She was a vessel, wrapped in a buhag spell, wearing a borrowed form like a shawl. A ripple of dread moved through the circle of women. They remembered the odd change in Mama's beliefs, her strange mutterings, her cold stares. Now, at last, it made sense. Something wicked had nested within her. As the flames devoured the false skin, Yoga Bell's true form clawed its way free. Smoke curled through the room as the illusion peeled back to reveal her twisted visage. Blood trickled from her brow, dark as river peat, as she stepped from the cloud with a grotesque half-smile. She killed my sister and Mama. Voronina cried, voice raw with anguish. This is no witch, she's a devil born of the coven of the Red Clover. Yoga Bell tilted her head, lips curling into an inhuman grin. You all are going to die, she crooned. Why fight what the fates have already woven? Her laugh echoing like poison dripping from a hollow tooth. As she began to rise from the ground, levitating on a swirl of corrupted magic, a surge of resolve crashed through the women. One by one, they raised their weapons, the sound of steel whispering through the air like the call of ancient warriors. Voronina felt something electric ignite in her blood, a shared fire, a bond older than any of them truly knew. We are the Midwest, she shouted, voice ringing with ancestral fury, and may our blood drip cold. Her hands rose, magic gathering at her fingertips. Around her, the women mirrored her stance, their palms glowing, their spirits linking into one unbreakable force. Differences vanished, only sisterhood remained. Yoga Bell smirked. Oh, how I believe some of you women could have been truly special, she sneered, almost pitying them. She thrust out her hand. At first, nothing. Then the world ruptured. A dark storm tore through the doorway, an explosion of feathers and shrieks. An army of crows cascaded into the room like a living tempest, wings thrashing, beaks snapping. They tore at the women's skin as though peeling rot from corpses. Screams mingled with the frantic beating of wings, filling the cottage with chaos and terror. And through it all, Yoga Bell floated, unmoved, an unholy silhouette framed by the cyclone of birds, watching with cold, gleeful hunger as the women fought for their lives. What had begun as a clash of magic and fury now spiraled into a desperate battle for survival, testing every thread of their courage against the rising tide of encroaching darkness. Voronina's voice slithered through the air like a cold serpent, each word barbed with scorn. Voronina, I would have let you all live, every last one of you, had you only heeded the path laid before you and kept clear of my designs. All I ever sought was Lana. But now that you have torn the veil from my secrets, and I can no longer weave deceit around her heart, the choice is stripped from me. I shall raise the evergreen and claim her by force, she announced, her tone dripping with a cruel mirth that had no warmth. The air thickened as panic seized the women, their cries rising like a storm-torn choir. Yet she merely tilted her head aside, as though the terror around her were naught but a passing breeze. Mercy was a stranger in her world, vengeance, the lone law she honored. She had hollowed out the Midwest like a carcass, taking its people, its strength, and the evergreen's breath for her own dark purposes. And we, fragile, foolish, unprepared, did not yet comprehend what horrors lay coiled beyond this confrontation. We fled into the forest, hearts hammering like war drums, branches clawing at our limbs as if the land itself wished to hold us back from whatever fate awaited us. Eardis lifted her gaze to the high mountains, their ancient faces carved by time and tempest. Her eyes caught a cave mouth wedged among the jagged stone, a dark sanctuary beckoning like the last refuge of a hunted clan. We spilled inside, the cool breath of the cavern slapping our skin, a small mercy against the dread stalking us from the trees. Altaluna curled upon the rock-strewn floor, her head bowed against cold stone. Tears threatened her lashes, but she fought them back as though each drop cost her something sacred. This was not the future we had once dared to dream. Where once stood hope, bright as a hearthfire in winter, now only shadows remained, creeping and heavy. Reu was gone. Voronina had vanished like mist. And the woman whose life I had taken, along with the others claimed by this cursed ordeal, whispered through my mind as a ghostly lament. It was like the stories told to children at dusk, fair and innocent in the beginning, only revealing their dark truths once one wandered too far. "I can't do this anymore," Eardis muttered, her voice sharp as antlerbone, refusing to rest as she glared down at Altaluna. "This isn't what we came for, nor is this the Midwest our foremothers forged." Altaluna said nothing. Her silence was a broken thing, speaking louder than any scream. The weight of her disappointment pressed on her like a great stone. "This," Eardis said, standing tall as an oak despite our dire straits, "is what it means to bear the name of the Midwest." Altaluna drifted toward the cave's fiery heart, seeking warmth from the crackling flames. I followed her, worried by the tremble in her breath, the way her face glistened, parched yet wet, like a soul torn between sorrow and survival. "I know your heart aches, Altaluna," I said softly. She offered a faint, fragile smile before settling onto a cold stone near the fire. Its dancing glow revealed the depths of her grief, flickering across her face like shifting runes. "I don't know what to do, Lana," she whispered. "My mother never said it would be like this." She drew closer to the fire, shadows curling around her. "My mother is Nefura, Queen of the Red Clover. She brought me here to watch the Midwest, to learn its ways, so I could rise as a siren witch. It was her greatest wish, something she could never become. She took me in when I was nothing, and she made me hers. But no matter how hard I try, this place has never felt like home." Her voice broke like a brittle twig, and she turned away, ashamed to show the full shape of her heart. "And I have wronged you," she continued, her voice shaking. "I let another witch into the evergreen, Yoga Bell. That is why Reu and Mama are dead. She stole their lives to reach you, to name you the new heir of the Red Clover." Her head bowed beneath the crushing weight of her guilt. I took her hand, offering what little comfort I could. "It will be all right," I told her, words I would soon curse myself for, blind as I was to the serpent coiled in the corners of my own heart. She pulled me into her arms then, her lips pressing against mine with a fervor that stole the breath from my chest. The kiss burned and soothed all at once, flames roaring with every thundering pulse of my heart while her cool softness tried to hush the doubt clawing at me. Yet beneath the sweetness lurked a shadowed truth, a subtle warning my spirit recognized even if I would not. Fragments of fate stirred at last, piecing themselves together. The surprise in her eyes the first day we met. The absence of any search for Voronina. The movement in the woods when I had sought her out, a presence unseen yet hungry, reaching for us all. Slowly, terribly, the threads wove into a single tapestry. This had all been part of a greater design, meticulous, patient, and deadly, snaring us from the very beginning. As I stepped back, a heavy mantle seemed to descend upon my shoulders, the kind of burden the old bards spoke of in their sorrowful lays, when destiny pressed its hand against the spine of heroes and demanded a price. I knew then that whatever lay before me would carve itself into the marrow of my story. This choice was no mere turning of a path, but the kind that shaped lifetimes and haunted bloodlines. Behind far up in the cave stood Eardis, rigid as a sentinel carved from winter stone. Her eyes, keen, sharp, and bright with some ancient awareness, tracked the shadows as though expecting a creature from legend to tear itself free of the dark. I could feel the tension around us tighten, humming like a drawn bowstring ready to snap. Anticipation lingered on my tongue, a strange metallic tang mingled with the bitter ghosts of her deception, scraping raw at my throat. I wondered whether the wind that murmured my name was truly destiny's voice or merely the whisper of folly. Was I to walk forward and embrace the fate that beckoned like a distant, mournful call across the moors, or was I just a pawn dancing on a game board carved by hands far older and wiser than my own? The questions circled me like ravens at twilight, relentless, unyielding. I let my eyes fall shut, tilting my face toward the stone ceiling as though seeking the sky beyond it. The cool air slipped across my skin, sharp, bracing, stirring something inside me, a spark fragile as a newly lit flame. I drew in a long, steady breath, letting courage fill my chest, and stepped into her arms. Edis held me with the fierce warmth of someone who had once known joy but feared she might never feel it again. Her embrace ignited a forgotten tenderness within me, a memory of happiness I thought long buried. "Thank you for forgiving me," she breathed into my neck, her voice soft and trembling, her breath brushing my skin like the passing wing of a gentle spirit. But before her words could settle, the cavern trembled with a scream, sharp, piercing, a sound that split the air like lightning tearing through ancient stone. Edis. The warmth of her vanished, replaced by the thunder of struggle, the scrape of limbs on stone, the desperate gasp of someone fighting for life. The echoes ricocheted through the cavern's hollow belly, cold and cruel. And inside me, an icy certainty blossomed. This was fate's grip tightening. This was the moment all threads had been leading toward. There was no turning from it. "You dal more real con," I whispered, each syllable unfurling like a dark enchantment, smooth, melodic, inevitable. I turned toward her and, in a swift motion that felt both foreign and wholly mine, pressed my mouth to her skin. The sensation was startlingly clean, like biting through the tender flesh of a ripe autumn apple, crisp and yielding. She stiffened, but not with fear, not with resistance, with acceptance. Altaluna collapsed into my arms as the spell I casted upon her caused her life force to weather away, her life slipping away like a candle flame snuffed by the cold breath of winter night. "For the red clovers," she murmured, her voice thin as mist, drifting from her lips like a final prayer. Then silence. I turned away, unable to bear the sight of her body lying abandoned on the cavern floor, small, fragile, robbed of the fire that once animated her. But a heavy sound rose behind me, pulling me back, the tread of the creature that had lurked in the dark, its presence thick and looming. "Who do you serve?" I demanded, steadying my voice though my heart trembled like a leaf clinging to its branch in a storm. The creature prowled closer, its breath brushing the air. I reached out, laying a hand upon its roughened head. In that instant, my consciousness tore free from my body, flung into another realm, one draped in blackness as deep as the oldest night. There, suspended in the dark, stood a lone figure. A golden lantern burned gently in her hand, its flame casting ripples of warm light across the void. Her face lay hidden behind a fine black veil, delicate as woven moon shadow. Her robes shimmered like threads spun from dusk and dawn, moving as though stirred by a wind I could not feel. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice echoing faintly in the vastness. "I am Mara of Sight," she replied, her voice resonant, layered, ancient, like the echo of a prophetess speaking through time. "I have come because this fate is not meant to be yours, and twisting it further may unravel more than you can ever restore." A strange clarity settled over me, heavy yet illuminating. "I understand," I murmured. She lifted the lantern higher, letting its golden radiance wash over me like a blessing or a warning. Slowly, the shadowed realm dissolved around me, its edges unraveling like fog beneath the morning sun. My body called me back, and I answered. "Lana." Mara's final words drifted after me, echoing like a warning etched into the bones of the earth. "Be cautious. For this fate may bind you as a siren. But to nothing else in this life." My spirit slammed back into my body. I staggered and pulled away from the creature. It did not move to harm me, only watched, then stepped aside with the solemnity of a guardian acknowledging its charge. As I walked toward the mouth of the cave, my gaze was drawn once more to Edis's form. The grief struck me like a blade, raw, searing, ancient. She lay curled in shadow, her light extinguished, her story ended. Questions clawed at me already, sharp as bramble. Why had I not turned back? Why had I not recognized the danger coiling around her? Why had I not fought the beast that took her? But the truth pulsed within me, painfully simple, unbearably tangled. And it was a truth I was not yet ready to speak. As I stood there, the weight of who I was pressed upon me like the stone of an ancient cairn laid across my chest. I am a witch, born of dusk, shaped by storm, tempered by sorrow. Yet I walk this path alone, without true companions to share the burden or witness the cost. While others in the old tales tasted sweetness, laughter, and the blessing of triumph, my story had always been carved from the darker wood. It was a tale of heartbreak, sacrifice, and blood-bound destiny. This road was never something I chose. It was the thread woven into me before I drew my first breath, my inheritance from the unseen forces that whispered over my cradle. Ahead of me lay the bones of the past. They glimmered with an eerie green glow, as though lit from within by the memory of life long extinguished. They called to me, not with warmth, but with a hollow beckoning, the kind only the dead can muster. I stepped forward, expecting meaning, a sign, some remnant of purpose hidden within the ruins. What I found instead froze my blood. Yoga Bell stood amid the ashes, her form rising like a spectre from the charred wreckage. The house, once a sanctuary, once filled with voices, life, and the breath of magic, was reduced to blackened timber and scattered embers. Its fall felt like the fall of an entire realm, a place stripped bare of its dignity and spirit. The air was thick with the scent of decay, of things burned away too quickly, too cruelly. Yoga lifted her face when she sensed me approach. Her smile, once warm as honeyed sunlight, flickered instead like a candle guttering before its final extinguishing. Shadows clung to her like a veil, distorting her features with a haunting distortion that sent a tremor deep through my bones. "Lana, I'm so sorry for your," she began, but the words died on her tongue. Her expression twisted, shock, agony, the realization of some unseen force clutching at her. Black mold, thick and oily, writhed around her throat like a living curse. It coiled through the air, threading its way beneath her skin, feeding on her essence. The corruption of it, pure, vile, and hungry, made the hair on my arms rise stiff as brambles in winter. "Yoga Bell," I said, my voice steady with the resolve of old queens and warrior seers. "Hear me. I am no daughter of the red clover. I am no creature forged solely by this broken Midwest. I will carve a new land, one where women like you do not fall into the jaws of malevolence." With a sweep of my wrist, the shadows obeyed. They surged forward, twining around her neck, snapping her head to the side with a swift, merciless twist. Her gaze turned toward the back of her skull, and the force of my power radiated outward, cold and hot, light and dark, merging in wild harmony through my veins. This power. It was not new, but newly awakened. Years of study, of runes older than language, of forbidden rites whispered only in moonless nights, had changed me. I had learned to wield the glimmering balance between shadow and sunlit magic, walking the narrow line that separates ruin from redemption. And now, at last, I stood in the fullness of who I was. Queen of the Midwest, crowned not by men, not by lineage, but by the earth itself. Sister of Gaia, kin to the soil, the storms, the roots twisting deep beneath the world. Embodiment of the green woman, guardian of the threshold between what grows and what decays. I embraced the truth of the name that lived in my bones, Lana. Fierce, unyielding, shaped by fire and by grief. I was not made to merely survive this world. I was made to remake it, to gather the ashes in my hands and breathe them back into destiny.